Hi, I'm Kate McNeel with SAP SuccessFactors, and I have with me today Anuj Kumar, and his role is around driving the financial services strategy for the UK market. And Anuj, you and I have been talking quite a bit lately about some new regulations coming down and the role of the HR team in supporting regulatory compliance within organizations. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, Kate. That's a really interesting question. No doubt HR is going to be a key function in managing regulation in a bank. We all know that regulation is really driving the agenda for the banking sector, and it's putting pressure on the employees. Now, as HR functions have gone on their digital transformation journey, they've recognized that they can start to solve certain business problems and become that sort of advisor with the kind of data that they are starting to hold.
Yeah.
So if you start to take regulations like the senior manager regime here in the UK, you can see that it's a data-driven proposition where there's a need to control the regulatory compliance agenda with who's staying signed off, who's being certified, is the staff and the workforce fully compliant against conduct rules. And that's where HR can come up with really interesting propositions to take to the executives, to the C-suite, to the compliance officer, and talk about how they can use the platform economy and really smart, intelligent insights that they can generate from the data to know who's compliant, at what point in time, who needs further learning, who needs to be signed off at what point in time. So I think HR will start to gain far more an important role as we move forward. And if I can really talk about what CHROs are starting to look for, they're starting to look for not just control, but also do it in the right sort of way.
That's really great insight. I think that point about the HR data is really key here. But there's another piece to the puzzle, which is around culture, really, and the employees wanting to stay compliant because they want to avoid fines and other bad outcomes. Can you talk a little bit about how employees can work with the compliance teams to keep the company compliant and in business?
Again, an interesting perspective to how we solve the regulatory problem. I think time is come where the compliance officer and the heads of HR become the best of friends. Because the reality is, while the compliance officer is looking at the rules that the Financial Conduct Authority is publishing, where in fact if you see the FCA agenda, they're starting to really push for culture within a banking arena. Look at the kind of topics that have been looked for: trust, remuneration, conduct rules. All of them are impacting the employee. So the compliance officer is now trying to work out, how do I ensure that I'm staying compliant with the right culture, with the right kind of employee engagement that comes from the workforce? And that's where they need to befriend the HR officer. The HR officer clearly is driving their own digital transformation journey, and while doing so is really sitting on compelling data, rich data that can help not just look at what the status of the organization at a point in time is, but to continuously monitoring it. And do that in a way that the employee gets the right kind of experience. Right learning at the right time, learning while being mobile, while doing it in a way that is not a push down from the executives into the employee, rather a self-propelled agenda to be compliant while doing the job in the most effective way. So I think we're moving forward, pushed with technology, where the compliance officer and HR needs to be far closer friend than what they have been in the past.
Yeah, okay, I really like that. One of the things we talked about yesterday was the relationship between how HR owns both the data and the culture, and it sounds like that ownership by them partnered with the information coming from the compliance team is really what we need to keep our customers compliant. So I think it's a great message for our banking customers.
That's right, and culture remains the key, and we need to be clear that culture is a two-way street.
Right.
What the organization gives to the employee and how the employee engaging with the organization. Yeah. So as long as HR officers and the rest of the organizations can keep an eye out that two-way interaction, we're in a good place.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. Appreciate all the insights.
Thank you.